Hello guys! In this episode, we're going to learn how Unreal Engine stores and manages project assets. We'll import a few assets, organize the project properly, and build some simple habits that will make future projects much easier to work with. So let's start by understanding the content browser. Alright, you will find it at the bottom of the editor. This is where Unreal stores all project assets. Almost everything you create or import into the project will appear here. Meshes, textures, materials, blueprints, animations, sounds, and many other asset types later on. You can think of this as the project's main file system inside Unreal Engine. Now, one important thing to understand early, the way you organize your content browser matters a lot. When projects become larger, bad organization can slow development down significantly. We'll start with a clean structure right away. Let's create a few basic folders first. Inside the content folder, right-click and create a new folder. We'll start with meshes, materials, and textures. Now, I'll quickly make a small mistake on purpose and show you something important. Let's say I name one folder incorrectly, like new folder. This is very common when you're working quickly in Unreal. To fix it, you can simply rename it. You can press F2 on your keyboard or right-click and choose Rename. Then we change it to a proper name, like Textures. This is how you keep your project clean and readable while you work. You can also create a separate folder for your own project name later. For example, Dear Dev Project or Survival Game. For now, keeping things simple is perfectly fine. The important thing is consistency. Try to avoid dumping everything directly into the main content folder. That becomes difficult to manage very quickly. Now, let's import an asset into the project. For this demonstration, I'll import a simple chair. The exact files don't matter. The process is the same for any assets you import into Unreal Engine. You can either drag files directly into the content browser or use the import button. Open the meshes folder and click import. Unreal may show additional import settings during this step. For now, you can leave most of these as default. Click import. And now the asset appears inside the project. You can also double-click any asset to open a preview. Now, notice what appeared after importing this chair. Let's quickly understand what just happened. We imported one simple chair, but Unreal created a few different assets from it. Let's break it down. A static mesh is the actual 3D model. In this case, it is the chair shape itself. Textures are image files that store surface information like color and detail. And a material combines everything together. It takes the mesh and textures and defines how the final object looks in the engine. So in simple terms, the mesh is the shape, the texture is the detail, and the material is the final look. You don't need to memorize all of this yet. The important thing is to recognize that one imported asset can generate multiple related parts inside Unreal Engine. Now, let's move some assets between folders. This is very important because Unreal projects work differently than normal desktop folders. Inside Unreal, assets can reference each other internally. So instead of moving files in Windows Explorer, you should usually move them inside the content browser itself. Let's move this texture into another folder. Simply drag it into the destination folder. Now Unreal updates internal references automatically. This helps avoid broken asset links later. If you move Unreal assets outside the editor using normal File Explorer tools, you can accidentally break references. So as a beginner, it's safest to organize assets directly inside Unreal. And on that note, as you organize your project, you'll sometimes move assets between folders. Let's create a simple example. Let's create folders called Old Folder and New Folder. Create a blueprint in the Old folder. and place it in the scene. Next, let's move the blueprint to the new folder. Now, let's try to delete the empty old folder. Notice that Unreal won't let us remove it yet. That's because a redirector was left behind. To see it, we can enable the redirectors filter. Redirectors help Unreal keep track of assets after they are moved or renamed. To clean them up, right-click the folder and choose Update Redirector References. The redirector is now gone and the folder can be removed normally. Okay, you don't need to worry too much about how redirectors work internally. Just remember that after moving or renaming assets, it's good practice to fix them occasionally to keep your project clean. Alright, now let's talk briefly about naming. Good naming becomes extremely important as projects grow. A common beginner mistake is naming files things like test, new material, final2, or random mesh. That becomes very confusing later. Instead, try to name assets clearly based on their purpose. For example, sm_rock, t_brick_wall, m_metal. Many Unreal projects use prefixes like sm for static mesh, t for texture, or m for material. The important part is consistency and clarity. Future you will appreciate it a lot. At this stage, your project is still very small, so organization may not feel important yet. But Unreal projects grow surprisingly fast. A few weeks later, you might suddenly have hundreds of assets, many folders, multiple systems, and lots of dependencies. Good organization reduces stress and makes development much smoother. It also makes collaboration easier later if you ever work with other people. So these habits may seem small now, but they save a huge amount of time long term. Alright, that's it for this episode. We now have a cleaner project structure and a better understanding of how Unreal stores and manages assets. These are small foundational skills, but they're extremely important for working comfortably inside the engine. In the next episode, we'll start making the scene look better. We'll create a simple material and change object colors. We will work with lighting, learn the basics of play mode, and do quick scene testing inside editor. So see you guys in the next one.